Exactly.
I wanted to ask you, you make stuff, so you make content, you make products kind of sometimes. You probably invest some of your own money, whatever. I saw you put something in here about TransferWise, a stock, and just made me think, does Steph own this stock? And what does Steph own? What does Steph like to invest in? So I'm curious, give me your kind of like, give us the rundown on what do you do? So you're building the stuff you make, and then what do you do with your money? And then how is that different than what you've heard me or Sam do with what we do, with how we build and how we invest?
So, I mean, I'll start by saying I'm actually a terrible investor. So it's funny because early on, especially when I was writing for Trends, I look back on that time and I'm like, if I just invested in all the things that I wrote about, I would be really wealthy, which I didn't. I think the reason I'm a bad investor is because I, like other people, think I'm smarter than the market. And so I make bets and, and I'm not smarter than the market. So, I mean, not financial advice, but the best way to make money, right, is just like index funds. That's what Sam does. But I would say that I think in general, in the way that I spend my money is that I, especially today, try not to focus on markets at all, meaning that I invest most of my money in just my own projects. And like, I'd rather bet on myself than anything else. And so I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but that's my investing strategy today.
Okay, so what does that mean? Like, give me an example of you investing in yourself. Let's make it real, because it is kind of a cop-out answer. So on this podcast, we don't just let it go as, oh, invest in yourself. That's the best. We say, all right, what are you doing? What did you invest?
Well, okay, so the idea of investing in myself is partially like anything I want to buy, education related, I buy it. We've talked about this with Sam before, but it's also meaning that I don't spend any time looking at the markets anymore. I think last year when everyone was looking at the markets, I did the same thing. Made a bunch of bad bets, shorted the market. You've heard the story before. And so now I have my money in indexes or a couple stocks that I like, and then I don't touch it at all. I never look at the market these days. And then I just spend all of my time, which I view as like an asset in myself. So learning skills and building things online.
So what are you learning? What are you learning? What are you investing in building your own skills in right now?
So most recently, I'm taking an automation course. So it's just like a Python automation course because I believe in this idea of like automating every possible thing in your life that you don't need to be the one doing.
Right.
Also created a course around this topic. It's called Doing Time Right, which is all about we call it this bicycle framework of how people should think about spending their time. And it's just a sequential framework where a lot of people think about how do I move faster on my bike to get to my destination. And the course is all about how to first eliminate whatever the hell you should be eliminating, then automate, then delegate. So it's just a sequential framework that teaches people how to do that.
Well, how does that relate to a bike?
So basically, the way that I view it is, if you're going to go create some like $1 billion company or just do something really impressive in your life, those are things that you look back on, you're like, wow, I did it. Those are like cross-country bike journeys. And if you want to cross the country with a bike, it's going to be kind of hard, right? You might not show up every day. You might quit. It's going to be pretty grueling. What a lot of people do when they're pursuing these really audacious goals is that they just get on their bike and they wonder, how do I bike faster? How do I get to this destination faster? Really, what you should be doing is first, you lay out your map, right? This is your strategy. These are your goals. Okay, where do I want to go? What am I going to run into? How do I make it most likely for me to actually get to my destination? The second thing is elimination, which means that as you're on your bike, if you just hop on, you probably have all this stuff that you just like thought, oh yeah, I need this. And maybe you got like a monkey on your back, you've got a shitty bike and you're just going on your journey. So elimination is get rid of all the stuff that's unnecessary. That includes all these random detours where you're like, oh, it'd be kind of fun to go to this petting zoo, or it'd be kind of fun to like go see a movie, but that's fine every so often. But ultimately, infinite detours means you're never getting to your destination. The third is automation, which means basically getting an electric bike. How much easier is a cross-country journey if you have a machine working on your side to get you still have to hop on the bike, you still got to pedal, but it's just going to be a lot easier to get there. Delegation is kind of like the like more badass version of automation. It's like taking things that, again, you don't want to be doing. And in addition to like automating it with a machine, now you have a human, right, who's even more contextual. And so that's like upgrading your bike, getting like just like the best electric bike on the market. And then by the end, we have these images that we created for the course. And by the end, there's this image of like someone biking cross journey or cross country, and they're like smelling a flower, it's sunny outside, and they're like, wow, this is actually like, I want to be on this journey. Right. And so anyway, that's kind of that's the foundation of the course. And then we actually show people exactly how to purge their inbox, how to zap the hell out of their project stack and things like that. One interesting little thing that I tweeted about recently from the course that I'll just call out is we came up with all these little frameworks, and one of them is expiring to-dos. So we all have this like long list of to-dos, and some of them are just not that important. So, you come across an article, you're like, I should definitely read this later.
Right.
Podcast, I should definitely listen to this later. And then you end up with this never-ending to-do list. And so I came up with this like super simple Notion template, which expires to-dos, certain types of to-dos after 30 days. You could set it 7 days, you could set it to 90. And I think that's actually a product that someone could build, a productivity tool that's just centered around using your psychology for you, right? So expiring to-dos, having it so that you can't actually see your full to-do list until you get the number one thing of the day done. I think you could just kind of think through some of those psychological hacks and implement them into an actual productivity tool.
Gotcha. You don't know this, but I hate productivity tools.
I know.
I feel like that's the first thing everyone builds is like a better to-do list. Then they build better invoicing, and then they build better, time tracking and things like that. That's like the engineers like rite of passage. And so, as a general business rule, I'm like, just don't build productivity tools, or build things that don't seem like productivity tools but are actually productivity tools. That works. But if you build something that's supposed to be a productivity tool, I'm like, that's just like a death pit I just love to avoid. But
I'm with you.
I do think productivity matters. And I just don't like to build tools in that space. But okay, I like that. That's pretty cool. And what about what is it about your philosophy? Do you have anything in your philosophy around either building or investing that is different than me or Sam or what you've heard us talking about?
That's a good question. Anything different than what you and Sam have talked about? I don't know. I think that so I basically take the like investing approach of Sam. I also think that like one of the things that I've done, which maybe I think you did as well, you build the podcast in this way, but I don't see enough people doing is a lot of people think that they either need to go binary in the sense of like, I need to quit my job and build something, or I need to just like do my job and one day I'll build a company. I actually think that the hybrid approach is possibly the best approach because you have the complete financial stability through your job, right? And so you don't need to worry about that, which means you can go and be really risky, really creative, and really authentic with anything that you build on the side because you're not worried about like, oh, how do I convert these people today? Or how do I
Right.
make sure I have dinner on the table? And so that's what I don't see enough creators doing. They think they need to go like full Zuckerberg, drop out of school and, scale a business right away. And when I see a lot of indie hackers that do that, they burn out real quick because they're like, this isn't even fun anymore. And I also like, I thought I could make money in 3 months and I can't. So I
Right.
think maybe that's not different to what you and Sam have done, but I think that's different to what I see a lot of creators do.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I actually think on that, like, I think in general, it's better not to take hybrid approaches because hybrid approaches are typically like kind of compromises or have your cake and eat it twos that you're trying to get. And like, if you just really said what you wanted, the question is, are you doing the hybrid approach because you want to do both things? Or are you doing the hybrid approach because you're afraid the thing you want to do won't work? Or because you're, like basically fear, right? You have some doubt about the thing. And I've definitely done both. So like the podcast I definitely did while I was at Twitch. And then I since quit Twitch and do it now more or less, full on. So I have done that, but it depends. I think you could do it with hobbies, and I consider investing a hobby. I consider podcasting a hobby. I don't think you can do it with company building in the same. So the same, like I wouldn't advise it for that. For the company building, it's like, look, if this works, the prize is big. In order for this to work, the commitment is full on. You should just go full on with it once you have conviction. And like for everybody, conviction comes at a different level. But I'm the type that's sort of like just default to conviction quickly, and then change my mind once I have evidence that it's not right. So I would say we probably do differ a little bit in that. I'm not a huge believer in the side hustle, even though it looks like I have tons of side hustles. I actually I think the optimal path is to just know what you want and then go for it. And then if it doesn't work out, you can sort of always fall back to the job and things like that. America's kind of a great place in that sense where, failure is rewarded here and unlike any other culture that I've ever seen. And so because of that, you can use that to your advantage, especially in the tech industry. Like I did a failed startup is like, oh, good. That's like, solid experience that you have, screwing it up. And I don't think that's true for most industries and most cultures.
Yeah, I think there's a couple examples where I think often I agree with you. If you're going to go create the next like billion, trillion even people are talking about company, then I think, yes, you got to go all in. But there are tons of examples where like the Google founders, like they made sure they finished their PhDs before actually going all in because they wanted almost like that stability. Same thing with the Spanx founder. I think I can't remember if it was her or someone else, like selling printers to make sure that she had like the long-term vision in order to build Spanx. But we can agree to slightly disagree on that one.